Welcome to Under the Hat. I'm Bellboy.
And I'm Sydney.
And this is an Under Your Hat Metal Mania.
Metal Mania 310.
Yep, this one's for you. A very good episode you've got us talking about here. The similarities.
A very cool subscriber. He seems to go with a lot of my thoughts in the WWE, and I think he talks a lot of sense.
Yeah, know your stuff.
He came up with a good topic for today. He actually wanted us to compare current WWE to old WWE, and he wanted the line at which to compare as being after, when was it?
Of the WWE compared to the WWF.
Yeah.
But we were thinking that the WWF would obviously win hands down. It's been there longer and probably had more of a peak years in that time. So we've kind of divided it up into a bit smaller segments.
Yeah, each era, they call them the WWE eras. So you've got the old school,
Yep.
the new generation, the Attitude Era, and the current era in which we're in today.
Yeah.
So we'll start off and talk a little bit about them, I suppose.
Well, I suppose we'd better start off with the old school. I mean, old school, the golden era of the old school really started with Hulk Hogan. Evolved from the start of the WrestleManias. I believe that was about really probably before the golden era, but I think it got the ball rolling up until about WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 4. Golden era started kicking off big time.
It brought wrestling into the mainstream and made it a hot topic, and brought a lot of fans interest. Starting up WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, all the major events that you have now, Survivor Series.
Yeah, all the classics and
all the what we call massive legends as well. Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, you even got Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart and Undertaker starting off back then.
And the faces and the heels, you can really tell them apart in this stage. And also the wrestling, you could tell there was a difference in wrestling and commentary.
Yeah.
It was a different feel altogether.
Totally. I mean, the commentary is one thing that I have to say was a lot better in the old school. Don't know what it was, maybe it was the bad guy and the good guy commentators, they gelled a bit better. Don't know what it was, Jesse Ventura, Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby Ray Heenan. I even though JR is very good in King in later years, I think the commentary, and especially the promos in the old school, I think are the best by far.
Promos, they did put a lot into them, and their mic skills in that era were very good compared to what they have been in other eras.
They did, and it was a lot more colourful, a lot more circus orientated sort of theme.
The moves were a lot slower though.
Yeah.
And the match, the whole match as an experience, it was a lot slower, a lot more gimmicky.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll go on to the next one anyway.
Yeah, next one. It slowly revolved around the WrestleMania 10 mark into the new generation. Now this is where Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon could probably take credit about stepping it up to a notch with the ladder match, but I think people will probably have mixed emotions about the new generation, whether or not it kind of went down a little bit, or I think in a way it did. The popularity might not have been there. They were trying to change it. They were losing a few stars from the old school, trying to build up new stars like Michaels, Undertaker, Bret. They were the main guys here.
This, not to forget, is when WCW were being a contender of a great wrestling show and being a big rival. So they still had the old school feeling, but it had a new sort of feel to it.
Yeah, something was. It had the old school feel. It was like they wanted to keep the old school there, but they couldn't keep it at its peak. So it was kind of a bit different. They were losing talent to WCW, as Sydney said. And I think this was the struggle years, as I think some people say in the WWF itself. These were the years that the WWF were really in trouble in a way financially, and I think it kind of showed. But nevertheless, they had great superstars like Razor Ramon.
Bret Hart,
yeah.
He was coming to his own. Shawn Michaels, he made it in that sort of era.
Yeah, I mean, Diesel was a champion for a year long there. Psycho Sid, I mean, there was great memorable moments in that era, but I think it was kind of a weak era
It did seem like it needed to change at that point, through that era. It was a new version of the old school, but people, they wanted to see something different. They were getting a bit bored of it.
Yeah, it's true.
Then you had the Attitude Era.
Wow. This is where it really started kicking off. I mean,
they changed it in a big way. They thought, we're going to get adult entertainment going.
It was the best thing they ever did. I mean, unfortunately, it was around the time of the Bret Hart Screwjob, which was disappointing, but I think it allowed them to catapult it. DX, a massive part of it, and obviously the man that takes most credit for the Attitude Era, Stone Cold Steve Austin. But the Attitude Era, the whole product of the company changed. The look of it, the way they acted, the whole thing, the way what it was targeted for, all changed, and for the better, I would say.
You had hardcore matches, you had backstage brawls, you had just anything that would sort of keep people's interest going. The storylines were just unbelievable at this time.
Yeah.
They were just, some of them were a bit too below the belt.
Oh yeah, I mean there was a line and they didn't just cross it, they jumped over it.
That's it.
The bar was set to a total new height, and it was a gamble, but it paid off and it buried WCW.
And some of the biggest wrestling icons of today were made in the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Rock, Austin,
Triple H.
You
got Kurt Angle coming in. You got Jericho. Guerrero was great. I mean, you had a lot of things, and this is when WWF started to really take over wrestling. It was the most popular time of all time. Austin became the most popular wrestler of all time. Unbelievable moments. Just after that, unfortunately, the roster did split, and that's when we went into the era known as the era we're in now.
The current era.
I know it's kind of dragging on, but I don't think the era will really change now. I think it's sort of got into that mode of since the roster split. There's not been much change to the feel of the product.
I think there will be a change at some point.
Well, they are going a little bit kiddie orientated now again, so maybe this is the change.
Yeah, I mean with this PG rating they've got on it now, and it's just the attitude adjustments.
Yeah.
The new move of Cena changed from the FU. I was impressed by the previous event, Backlash, though. They did go through a few hardcore backstage
that was
sort of activity in that, so that was quite good to see.
Yeah.
Very, very good superstars who actually, they're probably, a lot of them started in the Attitude Era, but now they're peaking in this era. Then you've got the new guys like John Cena, Randy Orton. Well, they're not new anymore, but they did start off in the current era.
Yeah, this era, yeah. Edge has become an awesome legend. I mean, like...
the production of the events and all the matches now is brilliant.
Yeah, it's the best it's ever been. The actual production is the best. We've been to the WrestleManias since the last 5 WrestleManias, all in this era, and they've been awesome.
The storylines have been good in this current era, but sometimes I do notice that every show doesn't keep up the same standard. I mean, they do go a bit stale from time to time in this era.
Yeah, they do.
But still enjoyable nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, the roster split, I've never really liked it, but I can tell it's a sort of business decision nevertheless. And but I would say, in a nutshell, a little bit of an overview there. I think my favourite era has to be a toss-up between the old school classic and the end of the Attitude Era for me. I'm going for around then.
Mine's the Attitude Era. That's what got me into wrestling, and that's when I stay tuned every week. I couldn't miss it. But I like them all. They're all good, and it's quite a hard question, but yeah, Attitude Era for me.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. Let us know your favourite era.
Yeah. And we're going to let you know our worst belt. Next episode, we're having a discussion that we've been waiting a long time to talk about.
Yeah, and Metal Mania 310, you triggered the idea, but we're going to talk about our worst belt. Yeah. Have a guess and see what you think it is.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it next episode. I'm sure it's all your worst belts as well.
Yeah, and until next time, what goes on under the hat
stays under the hat.